David can stay. David can stay. All right. Welcome, one and all, back to another special episode of the Austin and Scott Variety Show. This week we have a special guest, David. Hello, David. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing quite well. How are you gentlemen doing?
Doing
not
really
too bad,
well.
not too bad.
Because this all feels very, very familiar. I hope all of you had a really fun week.
Full disclosure, we forgot to hit record. Bear with us. The highs and the lows for the week for myself. I'll start there. I had a really good week, very balanced, no highs, no lows in that sense. I was smooth sailing all the way through, so that was pretty much my high for the week. How about yourself, Austin?
It was a busy week for me getting ready for a customer, but it went off without a hitch and they were really, really happy. And so we were riding high at the end of the week until we realized that the previous weekend we were robbed. And it's a big bummer, but we'll try better next time.
And they didn't even leave any clues behind?
They left the pennies on the floor. That's what they didn't take.
The pennies on the floor, you say?
The pennies on the floor, I say.
Oh, interesting enough. Do you know why the penny is called a penny? Because that's the fun fact for the week.
To do with English?
It is, in fact, to do with English. So, originally the U.S. calls it a cent. However, the slang term or street term of penny came from the word pence, which was the British equivalent in the same monetary system. And so when I went through and looked up where pence got the name, it was actually from a pfennig, which is the German word that was used to replace the coin of a denarius, which was the lowest denomination of a silver coin of the time, back in the 8th century. So that's where the term penny comes from. There's a lot more history that can go into that. The main purpose is that's why we call a penny and not a cent.
Nice. I am somewhat of an amateur coin collector myself. I do have some Indian head pennies, and I think I have some old copper coin from the 800s Norway, something like that.
Ah, okay.
But that is an interesting fun fact. David, do you know much about pennies?
It's not in my general wheelhouse of purview, but I do know that there are a lot of variations of the pennies over the years, certain things down to like the material composition that they were made out of, that does tend to breed a lot higher rarity in the coin collecting world and some value depending on the age and even sometimes the mint manufacturer of where you found your coins from. But the penny is just so tough to deal with. It's even arguable that the nickel shouldn't be in there.
I know in Canada, if you're paying in cash, they'll just round to the nearest 5 cent, and then they'll give you nickels or whatever. They got to round somehow. Going as far as getting rid of both pennies and the nickels. I mean, at that point, we would have to redo all of President's Day, because that's both of them. we would have an opportunity to rebrand President's Day if we stop giving a shit about Lincoln and Washington.
The real question is, do we just get rid of cash altogether and switch to a digital dollar? In which case, then, you have no faces on your money.
I definitely don't think that should be a valid option, simply because there may be places where you can go where you don't have as clean of access to either internet sources.
Yeah, what about all the cash-based businesses, Scott?
Well, yeah, that's where the digital dollar thrives, because at that point, you can track all that cash-based business and make sure there's no money laundering going on.
You would be eliminating an extreme amount of businesses by doing that. Also, if you have everything located to something that has to be digitized, you are relying on computer infrastructure in order to be able to sustain that. And we saw what happened not too long ago with the CrowdStrike thing that happens when the system goes down. So having at least one backup system, being physical cash, would alleviate some of the crash that may happen there.
A lot of these are systems running on old Unix operating systems, and if they're 32-bit systems, then 2038 is the end of Unix time. Clocks will reset to some crazy numbers in the middle of the 1990s. So all of a sudden on that day, it's like the proper Y2K for a 32-bit operating system.
The real Y2K. They were all off on the dates. Yeah. It's like the Mayan calendar all over again.
I know, it's around the corner, another 13 years or so.
I mean, for someone who grew up around that time, yeah, the Y2K was a very interesting topic because I wasn't old enough to understand what it was that was going on. The fear was legitimate.
So the fear was
legitimate. And was addressed accordingly in time before.
Right.
Yeah, before anything could happen.
I guess that would be like if the Titanic didn't happen because they were properly warned, were able to properly design it. And then we wouldn't be talking about the original Titanic. Because if they got ahead of it. If the time travelers did their jobs.
David, are you ready for our game show?
Oh, I am so prepared. It's going to be hilarious.
To explain the rules to you, David,
Right.
this is a game show. You are a contestant on the game show. We have a number of games prepared for you to play today, of which each are worth a certain amount of points. At the end of the games, if you have enough points, which I believe we are still at 10 points to win our prize, we will discuss that when we get there. Are you ready to play our game show?
Sure.
All right.
All right.
I'm as
Awesome.
prepared as I'm
Take it
going to
away.
be.
Okay, the first game that we have prepared for you is a very familiar one. Order matters. All right, in this
Yay.
game, we have 3 different topics. You have to correctly guess the order in which these events happen. We have the development of penicillin, the Titanic, the first one, and the Wright Flyer's first flight. In what order did these events occur in history?
I know that Titanic is not actually as far back as people think it is. Same with penicillin. I want to say that the Wright Flyer's first flight was in history would be the earliest time there, and then I would want to say the Titanic and then penicillin. I'm trying to think back to like World War II era, and I don't remember if penicillin was like a big thing
Right.
then or not.
Okay, so your submission is the Wright Flyer, the Titanic, then penicillin.
So, the Titanic sinking, I can't remember the exact date. In my head, it's popping up as 1903. However, I'm pretty sure that that's the Lincoln penny that I just read up on of where I'm pulling that date from. So, it could be 1920s for the Titanic. I know the Wright brothers' first flight was in 1910-ish. And I want to say Penn was definitely after World War I, but before World War II. So, I'm going to say that one's probably in the 1920s for penicillin. So, I'm going to go with Titanic, the Wright brothers, and then penicillin.
Okay, locking it in. All right, and the results are... David, you've scored 3 points.
Nicely done,
fantastic.
David.
Very, very well done.
I was completely wrong.
Well, I think you were actually close. You just might have
Some
had
mental gymnastics.
Titanic and
Yes,
penicillin.
the Wright
swapped
brothers,
there.
their first flight was in 1903. The sinking of the Titanic was in 1912. And penicillin was not developed until after World War I, when it was eventually available in 1928. If you just think about how long humans have been humans, and only in the last century we've had antibiotics, or at least
Yeah.
penicillin of that grade. It just blows my mind. So we are in the best of times. We should go on to the next game segment, Fake News. For potential 3 points, you have to suss out which of the following stories Scott has prepared for you is the correct one.
Yes. So in this fake news segment, we are focusing on package delivery. With COVID and all the delays with delivery, I figured this would be a good, heartwarming story about one of these packages finally being delivered in the past year. So, number 1, a monumentally late delivery. The Apollo 11 package finally lands 55 years late. In March of 2024, a Florida resident received a package marked Lunar Sample Return, NASA. Originally sent July of 1969 after the Apollo mission, inside were moon rock fragments meant for analysis, but the package never arrived at its intended lab. Postmarked from Houston, just days after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's historic moonwalk, it seemingly vanished for decades. NASA officials believe it was misplaced in storage or in a mailroom before resurfacing now in 2024. Scientists will finally analyze the lost lunar samples, providing that while Apollo 11 reached the moon in 4 days, this package took 55 years to reach its final destination.
Wow, wow, wow. What an incredible story. But is it all just moon dust? David, how believable is this story in your mind, in your opinion?
I strongly doubt that. If you could consider, like, if there was a particular address that then changed over the years to now where a civilian resides or something like that, that the address in previous time could have been somewhere valid, possibly. But no, the amount of care that was taken into the moon rock delivery in terms of their enclosures and how they were kept preserved so that they wouldn't decay and anything like that is just too high for me to consider that they would have been any sort of mailing system that they would have used for those.
Yeah, it's highly unlikely, Scott. Well, tell us about this next mysterious package.
Well, you guys have heard of snail mail, but have you guys heard of scarab mail? An ancient scroll finally arrives 3,000 years late. Egyptian archaeologists were stunned when an ancient papyrus scroll dating back to the 19th dynasty, circa 1250 BCE, finally being able to be read and quote-unquote delivered to the intended address. The addressee, a royal scribe in Thebes, modern-day Luxor, Luxor, where the scroll contained a grain delivery request, but is theorized to have never reached its destination. After careful translation and use of AI to fill in missing sections, experts believe they finally understand who the intended recipient of the order was. The artifact is now being analyzed in the Egyptian Museum, offering new insights into the daily life of ancient Egypt, and joked that they planned to deliver once they were done with the scroll, showing that even pharaohs weren't immune to shipping delays, although 3,000 years definitely sets a new record.
Okay. Wow, what a story. The idea to me that it was like a 3,000-year-old message that was delayed in transit and then fixed with AI. I mean, you could convince an AI to say anything that you really want it to. I don't know, man. How believable is this story to you, David?
Actually, that one's, a far bit more believable because it's you're not using AI to talk back 3,000 years, but knowing at least somewhat of the archaeological systems that are in place using, X-ray technology and different computer modeling and AI to be able to extrapolate partial images, even on like hieroglyphs and stuff, and be able to recreate some printed text digitally. Yeah, I could absolutely believe that. Considering sending it to the modern day recipient with that intended joke, I definitely think is plausible to have be legitimate there.
Interesting take. You have a lot of faith in AI, more than I do. All right, Scott, tell us about the last message.
All right. Postcard procrastination. A 121-year-old male finally checks in. In a postal plot twist, a postcard dated August of 1903 was delivered to Swansea Building Society 121 years after it was sent out. Originally addressed to Linda Davis, 11 Crawdock Street, which is now the bank's headquarters, a mysterious message referenced pocket money and unspecified issues the sender and recipient seem to understand but choose not to disclose. Baffled bank employees launched to social media to search to uncover Davis's story, while the Royal Mail speculated that the card had been recently reintroduced in the postal system rather than lurking in mail limbo over a century. Regardless of the cause, this lost letter proves that when it comes to snail mail, some deliveries take a scenic route.
Wow, 1903, 100 years late. This one was kind of the least offensive story among the three, in my approximation. How did this one feel to you, David?
This one seems less detailed. So I have higher speculation for this one.
Really?
Is that British? Yeah, Royal Mail speculated. Then to be reintroduced like that, that just somehow manages to throw in there that there's no other modern tracking or date stamps or anything, that it just happened to be in a facility where someone picked it up and went, this looks like it's extremely old, given that that is not a stamp that I see every day, that isn't worth, the same value that stamps are nowadays, or it's basically that I'll just send it on through anyways. That
It wouldn't fly like that, think?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, with all that in mind, of the three stories, which one did you say was the most plausible? I think you favored the scarab mail?
I did.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go for the postcard procrastination story. Scott, can you please let us know which is the real story?
Yes. Are you guys locking in?
Yep.
Locked and loaded.
It was not the scarab mail.
Oh.
It was, in fact, the postcard.
Woohoo!
So,
Interesting.
yes, the article is from the New York Post. Let me go ahead and put a link in there. Where basically the postcard arrived very late, where employees at a Welsh bank were dumbfounded after that 121-year postcard was sent. The stamp, to your point, the stamp was a King Edward VII, who was the ruling UK's monarch at the time. So that is a very, very old letter at that point. The AI that I was using to generate it had said that they introduced the scroll back into the mail system and it was delivered through the Egyptian mail. So that's where I had to go back and change a lot of those
Pump the brakes
details.
on the AI. It's a little
Yeah.
too creative.
And I caught that about 10 minutes before we started the show, and so I was rushing through that one.
I forgive you, Scott.
All right. Well, that brings us to our middle break here, where we usually have an advert from our sponsors. However, our sponsor this time, Austin would like to tell us more about.
Yeah, so get this. Franklin, Tennessee's Treasury has allotted funds to furnish Franklin Elementary with the fleet of vehicles to support student pickup in remote districts. And they have kindly reached out to the Austin and Scott Variety Show to submit ideas for what class of vehicle to select.
So, David, we figured with your background, you'd be a good candidate to help us decide how we should pitch our ideas to Franklin Elementary. So we have two competing ideas. It's something we can't get past here. So we've come to you to help us solve our issues, where we're both going to pitch to you our idea and then have you tell us which one we should go with. All right, Austin.
Should I be anticipating any sort of criteria upon which I am basing this judgment on, or
elementary school in the middle of Tennessee, and there are rural areas that need to be accessed? So I'll submit my idea was the Japanese KE microvan, which is very similar model to the Suzuki micro pickup trucks. And I went with this idea because I bet you there's many affordable models of this strewn about the Americas. So it's an accessible vehicle at a low price, and if you get the same make and model or similar ones, then they will be highly serviceable. And then if you paint them to look really cute, it'll be really, really cute when you park them next to the elementary. I think cute van, cute kids, cute times. Microvan. That's my submission.
okay?
Oh, thank you. And Scott, what was your idea for a fleet of vehicles?
So, David, based on the user criteria that Franklin Elementary has given us, with the fact that they need to be able to pick up students in very remote districts at sometimes, I would like to submit the idea of a Sparkle Smash monster truck. The Sparkle Smash monster truck has a number of useful features, including off-road tires, raised bed, so that way you don't have to worry about running into things, and it would allow our students to get to school faster because they could take the roads less traveled. Additionally, for safety concerns, I would submit that the monster truck would be a null safety concern to the passengers inside, and that more parents would be willing to let their kids ride in these trucks to school than they would other types of vehicles, because they know the safety would be paramount on this school ride. So with that, I would like to submit that the Sparkle Smash truck would be able to glisten its way through the rural Tennessee hills and be able to deliver students both joy and on time to school days. Thank you.
I mean, both are solidly convincing arguments.
Well,
Those are so dramatically different vehicles. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could park the monster truck over the K van without touching it. I do happen to have a few questions, though, on semantics. The little K micro van, being that it is for a rural area, do you know whether or not these come in a all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive version of them?
Oh, there should definitely be variants of that, but you have to get what you can get. This is the second-hand market for these K trucks.
Yeah, you can get what you can get. So what you're saying is that they might not be actually quite as readily available as you first proposed there.
But they are
given their
equipped with
high numbers in the United States that you so readily claimed.
But we do plan on outfitting them with 5-point harnesses, like the Sparkle Smash truck.
Oh, Sparkle Smash truck comes with 5-point harnesses standard.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be retro outfitted with them.
Correct.
That does score points for safety for that. But the Sparkle Smash truck does not have quite as much seating available as one of those little minivans would be able to have, though. So
We did
you
plan
might
for that.
have to need a higher volume of the
We did
Sparkle Smash
plan
trucks
on
than the K trucks.
strapping the students as well as any backpacks and equipment to the back of it if needed. External seating facing outwards.
So you would be filling the bed of the monster truck with extra seating.
Correct. It'd be basically a pull down harness bar like a amusement ride. Further exciting the children.
You're going to strap kids to the back of Sparkle Smash?
To the outside, yes. We plan on launching ourselves
so
over
not even
the trees.
in the bed. You're just gonna there's gonna be seats hanging off the sides, like on the fenders. Kids facing
Correct.
sideways off the truck instead. Yeah, I mean the safety concern. The kids might be effectively strapped in, but that's not going to protect them from any of the elements.
I think you might be able to afford 5 or 15 K trucks per monster truck.
There definitely is that to consider,
And
and
you have
we
to
don't
get
know
all the
exactly what their
kids.
budget is.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get everyone to school. How do you effectively do that under the same
Well,
budget?
because you're going off road, the monster truck can go much faster, and I'd be able to do twice as many deliveries as one K truck would.
All right, David, it's your decision.
Both stand good reason entertainment. I would be much more inclined to personally ride in the Sparkle Smash monster truck, but I think if this was a legitimate thing, the K truck would absolutely win.
Points to both of
Thank
us.
you very much.
Well, that was a fun concept. All right, back to our regularly scheduled game portion of the show. This next segment is worth a potential of 6 points. What I'm going to do is play a series of songs for you, first in reverse. If you're able to guess the song in reverse, you can get extra point for identifying. Are you ready?
What's the theme
boy.
for this segment?
The musical theme today is Back to Basics. Songs that everyone from kindergarten would have known.
Alrighty then.
All right? All right.
I'm listening.
All right, here's the first song in reverse.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
That one's tough, but I think some of the melody, it's reminding me of like Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Okay. Scott, were you able to pick up anything?
Rock My Baby.
Rockin' My Baby. Okay, this is the song played forward.
The words in the second half. I can't remember the first half.
A
Did
tisket,
either
a
of you have
tasket,
friends in kindergarten?
tisket,
Did
a
we go to
tasket,
kindergarten?
a green and yellow basket.
Okay.
I think it's pockets full of posies. We all fall down.
That one.
Yeah, that's what
Ring
I
around
had in mind. Ring around the rosy.
Ring around the rosy.
Ring around the rosy. Okay.
That's the word I was looking for.
Oh,
I don't think any of us properly knew the name, but we all understood what song it was.
Yeah, I think you got there towards the end. You might get a pity point.
Fun
to the
fact about
second
that song, it was the original lyrics were describing the Black Plague.
Indeed, they were. Perhaps it's a foreboding song we teach our children so that they can look out for it when they indeed get the bubonic plague when they're teens.
Still technically a possibility. It has not been 100% eradicated from the earth.
There was actually a death this year, I think in New Mexico, from the bubonic plague already.
This year's only 3 months long, Scott. All right, the second song played in reverse. Go ahead and give it a listen. Okay, there might have been a hint at the very end of that piece, which would be the very beginning of it. Any thought?
This one's hard.
Yeah, I'm not picking up on anything the same way.
The underlying melody, the background melody that you have, makes it really hard to pick it out.
It's definitely throwing me off a little bit, and I'm not recognizing it the way it is in reverse.
Is this one a very common one or a kind of more abstract one?
It's the most common.
The most common. Oh gosh, well, that was the opposite direction of what I was thinking. Okay, let me rethink this then. I have no idea what the most common child Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Okay, thank you for your submission, David.
I was thinking a similar vein, but I was not confident enough to be able to say anything with reverse. I would need to hear it forward to see if I can guess it.
All right, let me know if you can guess it listening to it forward.
Oh.
You think you got it?
No.
Absolutely.
And we can't play actually this
I was
reach
gonna
the
say
100 year point yet?
I don't know if that is royalty free or not anymore, but that would be the Happy Birthday theme song, I believe.
With the sad last chord. Yeah. Yep.
In order to protect you from royalties.
Correct. All right, let's give this third song a listen in reverse. Any emotions?
I'm gonna go with the Star Spangled Banner.
David?
It's definitely a happier song. The happy chords. Problem is I have too many video game soundtracks going in my head, and some of these sound like songs that could be from Legend of Zelda that are just crossing over, and it's clouding my
Zelda played a lot of reverse music.
little stars. Is that the ABCs?
Okay, the AVCs is your submission? Good enough.
I'm strongly unconfident in that.
All right, let's give it a listen.
Lads,
That is the beginning movement of the Star Spangled Banner.
That it
Scott?
absolutely is. Well
I
done.
recognize my national theme song when I hear it. I'm kind of impressed. I wasn't really confident on that one, honestly.
All in all, you got 1 pity point from that musical segment. Good job, David.
Ta-da!
All right, and this leads us to our final game of the day, our rapid fire quiz section. All right, Scott, tell them all about it.
All right, David. So this is the rapid fire trivia section where we're going to have a whole bunch of random questions for you that you can answer within 60 seconds. If you get it correct, you will hear this noise. If you get it wrong, you will hear this noise. If you don't know
Alrighty.
an answer, you can always say skip and we'll move on to the next one. Austin, can you refresh us on what David's score is currently?
David's score is currently 4.
All right, David, you need to get 6 correct answers then to win our prize.
Not
Are you
fantastic,
ready?
but I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
Strapping in. Let's go.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock, starting now.
What is the French word for yes?
We.
What named Batman's butler?
Alfred.
What is the smallest country in the world?
Vatican City.
Which novel begins with Call Me Ishmael?
Ooh, Moby Dick.
How many players are there in a standard soccer team?
15?
What is the Roman numeral for 100?
C.
What does the H stand for in H2O?
Hydrogen.
Which TV series featured dragons in the Iron Throne?
Game of Thrones.
Which company makes PlayStation?
Sony.
Who played Jack in Titanic?
Final question.
DiCaprio.
That is correct. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions correct, David. So you win our prize.
Victory is mine.
All right, Austin. You want to go ahead and tell them our prize?
Sure. David, congratulations. You've won. Your prize is 1 hypothetical wish, but with a dash of rules and a sprinkle of surprises.
First things, you get to listen to our terms and conditions and say if you accept before we give you your prize.
Legal disclaimer. By submitting your hypothetical wish, you no magical creatures were harmed in the making of your wish.
Do you accept?
I might have to seek legal counsel, but I don't know if I can get a hold of him right now, so I'm just going to wing it and say, sure.
Sounds good.
Although it wouldn't technically be a superpower, one thing I've always wished to have would be the ability to pay, like, whenever I went to pay for something, I would have exact change in my pocket.
Okay. I could see that. I will say I'm okay with this, but the stipulations would be the world has moved to the digital dollar.
Oh, he always has exact change. It's always
there-
exact.
But there's no change because everything's digital now. Because your exact change is 0.
We could hit him with like Rain Man autism, and then like he would already
That's fair.
have a certain amount of coins in his pocket, and he's trying to get groceries, but like he has to switch between kale and organic kale, not because organic's better, but he knows.
So
that
he wouldn't
it'll
have
round
change.
out to the exact- a coin gremlin that has to live with him. He's the designated coin gremlin for David. David doesn't have to think about it because there's a magical coin goblin creature that whenever he goes up to the register and needs exact change, the coin goblin facilitates this exact change. And this is the service.
I pay him in gum. I've seen those commercials. I know how effective it is.
I'm leaning more towards the fact that there is no change. Then, if that's the way we're going to play it, I would say that there is no change. So he always has exact change because the change is
That's
0.
the easiest for sure.
Yeah, and it's a digital dollar, and so it ends up
less
not working at
magical.
all. I have exact
Now
change
the-
everywhere
now-
I go when I pay with my credit card. We have exact change, which is the change as in coinage in your pocket of what the dollar amount would be, but nobody has.
So as this genie, in order to prevent me from carrying coins and cash in my pocket to exactly pay for everything, part of the wish then is you would completely industrially overhaul the entire economic system of every available country in the world right now
It's a lot
to then be 100% digital and remove all
It's
physical
way easier
currencies
than
in the than
It's
having
called the U.S. government.
Oh yes, way easier. My apologies.
It was included in the terms and conditions. Did you?
It went by so fast. I guess I should have taken a second look at those.
Yep.
All right. Well, Austin, I think we can close it there unless we have any listener questions.
Yeah. There is one listener question. Mindy from Minnesota says, "How can I have a good time without having a bad time?" Wow, Mindy, making me think.
Well, Mindy, I'll let our guest go ahead and answer you first. David, how do you have a good time without having a bad time?
Oh, well, I think the easiest way to do that is don't leave your house. Bad things happen out in the world out there, and there's plenty of entertainment that you can find amongst yourself here at home, and the internet is a very wonderful place. Just be careful about where you go. You can have plenty good time online, and all the bad times can just fade away because it's outside of your door, and ignorance is bliss.
That's good. I like that.
Wait,
answer.
this isn't supposed to be like actual advice, is it? Oh, no.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
It's a really
How
bad
do you have a
question,
good
though.
time without having a bad time? I'll tell you, what I like to do is I like to reframe and recontextualize what a bad time is. And I reframe it as a good time. That way, no matter what, I'm always having a good time without having a bad time.
That is a very positive mindset.
That is very good.
It's kind of sweeping
Well, Mindy-
negative feelings under the rug or just telling the negative feelings, no, I do like programming. It's my favorite. It doesn't make me sad at all.
Well, Mindy, if I had to give any
gaslighting
advice on this, I would say that in order to have a good time without having a bad time, you should just do the basics of whatever makes you happy and make sure that it's yourself and not something else that you're relying on. Because usually when you have a bad time, it's because you're being disappointed by something that you were expecting. So either, like what Austin said, limit your expectations a little bit and just sweep it under the rug. Or like David said, just stay inside and do nothing. But a nice little middle ground there is just do something that makes you happy that you can do by yourself without having to rely on other people.
That's really sweet advice. Okay, Mindy, good luck out there. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for staying with us and listening this whole time. Please write in if you have anything interesting you want us to chat about, or if you want to be a guest on our next episode. Don't be afraid to reach out. Okay.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Aw, bye everyone.
Croissant